Hello everyone, I'm Joe Ackourey, and welcome to the Fly of the Week. For this episode, episode 65, I'll be tying a Grey Midge Pupa pattern. The Grey Midge Pupa pattern that I'm about to share with you has worked wonders for me in the past, especially for those selective trout. You know, the ones where you can't see any flies around hatching, but these fish are just sipping in the surface tension. So this Grey Midge pattern has worked really well for me. I typically tie it in sizes 18s to 24s and sometimes a little smaller. But yeah, they're hard to see in those smaller sizes, so I use two different methods. I either get up close and personal with the rising fish or the sipping fish and make a short cast, and I can pretty much make out the midge pattern that I'm fishing. Or I'll tie a Griffith knot on, size, like an 18 or a 20, and I'll drop that about 1.5 leader off the back end of the fly and attach that midge pupa. Either way works well for me, and I highly recommend you adding this midge pupa to your arsenal. So without further ado, let's get started. All right guys, here we go. The Grey Midge Pupa. Start by placing your hook in the vise, and I want you to cover the entire shank of the hook with thread. Go right into the bend. Okay. Now for illustration purposes, I'm using a slightly larger size hook. Typically, I would tie these in 18s to 24s. This particular hook size is an 18. Just to give you a little bit better view of it. So, let's get started here. So the body on this Grey Midge Pupa is going to be made from Peacock Eye Fiber. When you strip the Peacock Eye Fiber, it comes out, it has a two-tone color. And we talked about that in previous episodes. You could see that nice dark and then light shade on one side and the other. And it makes an incredible segmented body, and it represents this midge pupa, the Grey Midge Pupa, perfectly. So you won't get that from the fibers down below here. No way. That's just a solid color. You got to get it from the eye, strictly from the eye. So I would I could strip it by hand or by finger, just keep on putting pressure on this and the fibers come off. But I chose to use a pencil eraser, and then I would just lay it flat on my desk and just keep drawing it down like so, and it erases the fuzz right off the quill. So I already prepared this one, and I'm going to attach that with the thick end toward the back and on the side of the shank of the hook. And I'm going to get my thread up the shank a bit. And when I say the skinnier the body, the better with these midges, believe me, some of these selective trout just don't respond well to an oversized midge pupa pattern. They just shy away from it. And yeah, you definitely want to keep this relatively skinny, because the bodies on these midge pupa are tiny, or the abdomens, I should say. So now that I have my abdomen prepared with that quill, you can see how nicely that segmentation looks. I'm going to fasten it down with a couple wraps and clip off the excess, and I'll tie down the remainder there. So now, to bring out that nice segmentation, I'm going to use my favorite UV glue and just give it a good coat. Not only does it bring out the segmentation, as you could easily see, but it also gives it brings out the it helps with the longevity of the fly, and when fish hit it, it'll stay together a little bit longer for you. Yeah, so that's pretty much cured now. Yep. So now we have our abdomen. That's complete. Now we're going to work on the thorax. And to start off with, I typically like to use my medium done sparkle yarn for the beginning of the thorax. That's sort of like my wing case. That'll be like my wing case. And I'm going to come up to just I don't want to crowd the eye, but I just want to leave a little bit of room there. Once that's fastened down, to continue with the thorax, I'm going to dub a black hare's ear. Just a real thin black hare's ear for the thorax. And when I flip this over, I'm going to integrate the set of wings that reside underneath the pupa, on each side of the pupa. That looks really good there. Yeah, a little bit heavy. Maybe back off right about there. Yep. I have a little bit of excess. I'm going to remove that. And then I'm going to take this, I'm going to reorient the hook a little bit higher up. So in review, we have our quill body, which we used a fiber from, single fiber from the Peacock Eye, and then we stripped it with our pencil eraser. We stripped the fuzz off, thus exposing the two-tone color for the segmentation, which, as you can evidently see, it's beautiful. Then we started our thorax. We started with a piece of my medium done sparkle yarn. We tied that in. We left a little bit overhanging. And then we dubbed our thorax with a little bit of black hare's ear for a blend. And now we're at the point where we're going to flip this case over the top of the black. Hold it firmly. Wrap a couple of good securing wraps there. And then we're going to build a little thread in front to stand that second piece that's standing up. We're going to use that for, talk about that a little bit later. So now we have this big piece here. And we're going to separate that for the wings. We're going to separate that in as close as we can to get equal bunches. We're going to draw them down, hold them down, and then we're going to wrap back into it, forming the the wings that reside underneath the pupa. Yep. So that's pretty much it, guys. I'm going to wrap some thread again in the front here to stand up this little gill section going on here. Looks pretty good. And we're going to go back behind it and tie our knot. Great pattern. Easy to tie, as you just saw. They're hard to see, though, I'll be honest with you. When you're fishing these, either a couple of methods that I use. Sometimes I'll use a larger fly and drop this off the back of it. This will be in the film, floating in the surface tension, barely floating. And that larger fly will kind of give you like a little indicator as to where it's at, but this will be in the film, and the fish will readily take this during the midge hatch. This gray midge has worked for me very well throughout the entire season. Yeah, I can't say enough about this pattern. It's really really works well, and it's one of my favorites. So I want to thank you for joining me in today's episode of the Fly of the Week. If you like the content that I'm pushing out, please subscribe to my channel, and yeah, add this one to your arsenal, guys. Tight lines.